There are things in life we don't talk about, not because we forget, but because we remember too much. Some pains are not loud. They sit quietly under your skin, in the moments you fall silent for no reason, in the way your hands tremble. When certain names are mentioned, in the way you look at your reflection, not to admire but to check if you're still whole. You don't need to explain it. You don't even need to name it, but you do need to let it hurt. Gently, without shame. Because healing doesn't begin with pretending you're okay. It begins with honesty. And honesty sounds like this. That broke me. I still carry it. It hurt more than I said. Pain becomes heavier when it's denied, but it becomes softer when it's witnessed. So let this space be where you are witnessed, where you are not told to move on, where you are allowed to pause. Let the tears come. Let the memory sting. Let your shoulders drop. Let yourself breathe. You are not weak for feeling deeply. You are human. And sometimes the strongest thing you can do is simply not run. We live in a world that rushes healing. It tells you to get over it, move on, be positive. But your heart is not a machine. It doesn't reboot on demand. It grieves in waves. And sometimes, it needs time to sit at the shore, to listen to the ocean of what was lost. So today, don't force it to be okay. Don't pretend you've made peace with something that still bleeds when touched. Instead, sit beside it, like an old friend, and whisper, I know you're still here. I won't ignore you anymore. Because healing does not come by silencing pain. It comes by holding it with gentleness, by giving it the dignity of being heard. And that's what this space is for. Not to fix you, not to rush you, but to walk with you slowly until the ache learns how to rest. So let it hurt. Let the grief swell like a tide. Let the sorrow speak in your bones, because that's where healing begins. Not when it disappears, but when it finally feels safe to exist. There is something powerful about naming what hurt you, not shouting it, not blaming, but simply naming it. Like, this is where I was abandoned. This is the moment I stopped trusting. This is the silence that broke me. This is the goodbye I never got to say. When we don't name the wound, we give it too much power. It lingers in the shadows. It shows up in places it doesn't belong. In relationships, in fears, and how we see ourselves. Naming is not about reopening the wound. It's about reclaiming the ground it took. Because a wound left unnamed becomes a story told in pain again and again. But a wound acknowledged can become a story told in wisdom. You may have spent years trying to be okay without talking about it, trying to smile with a heart that limped, trying to move on with a mind full of echoes. And I see you. But the body remembers what the mouth silences, and you deserve to rest. Not just physically, but emotionally. Say it gently. You don't need a stage. Just whisper it to yourself. Say, this happened, and it hurt. But it's not who I am, because pain is an experience, not an identity. It may have shaped you, but it doesn't get to define you. And when you begin to name the wound, you also begin to loosen its grip. It doesn't get to hide anymore. It doesn't get to decide your worth, or rewrite your story in shame. You get to decide that now. So pause, take a breath, not a deep one, just enough to stay with yourself in this moment, and ask, what hurt me the most? Where does it still echo in my life? What part of me stopped trusting because of it? Don't rush to fix, just listen. Because the deepest healing begins, not when we rush to remove the pain, but when we finally understand it. Sometimes the pain just wants a name, so give it one, and then give it kindness. You are not late. You are not behind. You are not broken because you haven't healed yet. You're just human, and healing does not follow a timeline. It follows tenderness, and tenderness by nature takes its time. There are people who will tell you, you should be over it by now, but they don't live in your bones. They don't wake up with your memories. They don't feel the cracks behind your quiet, so don't let them rush you. Healing isn't something you cross off a checklist. It's not a finish line. It's a rhythm, sometimes gentle, sometimes messy, always honest. There will be days when you feel strong, and days when the ache returns out of nowhere. Both days belong. Both days matter. Some pain doesn't fade evenly. It fades like sunlight through a window, softly in pieces. And some pieces take longer. That's okay, because healing is not about forgetting. It's about creating space where the memory can live without owning you. Let yourself rest, not just in sleep, but in your heart. You don't have to constantly explain how you feel. You don't have to perform your healing for others. You don't need to prove that you're doing better. Some of the most important healing happens in silence, in the quiet hours when you choose not to run, in the moments you sit with your sorrow and simply stay. That is healing. Not the pretending, not the smile you force for the world, but the courage to stay with the pain long enough to understand what it came to teach, because pain always brings a message, not to destroy you, but to show you where your soul still needs gentleness. So be gentle, breathe slower, move softer, speak kindly to yourself. Say this: I am allowed to heal at my own pace. I am not in competition with anyone, not even with the version of me who pretends to be okay. There is no prize for being fast, but there is peace for those who are patient. So let healing take the time it needs, even if others don't understand, even if part of you still resists, even if it means learning to walk again slowly. Because one day, without realizing it, you will wake up and notice that the heaviness has lessened, and you'll realize you didn't force your way there. You softened your way there, and that is a quiet kind of victory. There's a moment in healing, a quiet shift, when you stop introducing yourself by your wounds. You no longer say, I'm the one who was left. I'm the one who was betrayed. I'm the one who always hurts. You start remembering, that's what happened to me, but it's not who I am. Your pain is real, but so is your soul, and they are not the same thing. You are more than what broke you. You are not the goodbye. You are not the mistake. You are not the scar. You are the one who survived it. You are the one who kept walking. Yes, it shaped you. Yes, it changed how you see the world. But no, it does not get to write your name in sorrow. You are still becoming. There's a danger in over-identifying with pain. It can feel like safety, like identity, like home. Because when we carry pain long enough, it becomes familiar. And familiar things are hard to let go of, even when they hurt. But healing asks us to risk something new, to believe in life beyond the ache, to believe in joy again, even when we don't fully remember how it feels. That takes courage, but courage isn't always bold. Sometimes courage is quiet. It sounds like this: I deserve to feel peace again. I deserve to laugh without guilt. I deserve to wake up and not flinch. You do. So gently, begin separating yourself from the pain. Don't rush. Don't rip it out. Just loosen its grip. Notice when you talk about it. Notice if you use it as your introduction. Notice if you wear it like armor. And then remind yourself, this pain visited me, but it is not the permanent tenant of my soul. You are still here. You still have breath. You still have beauty the pain couldn't steal. You still have mornings left to rise into. That's who you are. The one who stayed. The one who softened. The one who still chooses to try. So today, don't just say I'm broken. Say, I'm rebuilding. I'm returning. I'm remembering who I was before the ache settled in. And slowly, quietly, gently, your identity will shift. From victim to survivor, from wound to wisdom, from pain to presence. Because you are not your pain. You are the hands that hold it. And someday soon, you will be the hands that let it go. Some feelings don't need to be fixed. They just need to be held, softly, without judgment, without a deadline. Grief is one of them. Grief doesn't ask for advice. It asks for space. It asks to be seen, not solved. But most of us were never taught how to sit with grief. We were taught how to avoid it, how to numb it, how to replace it too quickly with distraction or noise. But grief doesn't leave just because you try to silence it. It waits. It whispers. And if ignored too long, it hardens. Not because it's angry, but because it's aching. For someone to finally say, you matter, even in your sadness. There's a softness required when tending to loss, a kind of inner slowness, like cradling a sleeping child. You don't shake it awake. You don't ask it to hurry. You simply sit near it and offer your warmth. That's what grief needs, not loud solutions, not false optimism, but a quiet presence that says, you can fall apart here, and I will not look away. Can you be that presence for yourself? Can you offer yourself the kind of compassion you'd give a grieving friend? Because so often, We know how to comfort others. But when it comes to our own pain, we become harsh. We demand progress. We get impatient with the pace of healing. We shame our sorrow for staying too long. But grief is not here to embarrass you. It's here to honor what mattered. You don't grieve because you're weak. You grieve because you loved, because you tried, because something once meant everything, and now it's gone. Let that be okay. Let the ache have its breath. Let the emptiness echo without needing to fill it. Let the questions go unanswered for now, because healing doesn't always start with solutions. It starts with stillness. It starts when you sit beside your sorrow and say, "I'm here." And when you do that, something shifts. Not quickly, not loudly, but deeply. You begin to realize that your grief is not a weakness to hide, but a truth to hold, and holding it is what makes you whole again. Forgiveness is not about excusing what hurt you. It's not about pretending it didn't happen. It's not about saying it's okay when it clearly wasn't. Forgiveness is about freedom. Your freedom from what still claws at your peace, from what still lives rent-free in your mind, long after the moment passed. Forgiveness doesn't mean you trust again. It doesn't mean you forget. It means you choose to stop carrying what was never yours to hold. Pain may have been handed to you through words, neglect, betrayal, silence. But bitterness is something we choose when we don't know what else to do with that pain. And it's okay. It makes sense. Because when we're hurt, the heart wants justice. It wants repair. It wants someone to say, "You were right, you didn't deserve that." But here's the hard truth. You may never get that apology. You may never get that moment of closure. So instead, you give it to yourself. Forgiveness is not about the other person. It's about you. It's about not letting them live in your spirit every time their name is spoken. It's about reclaiming the space they were never meant to occupy for this long. Some people simply didn't know better, and others did know, but didn't care. Both leave wounds, but you don't have to become the wound. You don't have to become what hurt you. You get to decide, this ends with me. This doesn't grow roots in my spirit. So breathe, not for them, but for yourself. Say it gently, I release this from controlling me, not because they deserve it, but because I do. Because forgiveness is not weakness, it's strength without armor. It's choosing peace, even when war feels more familiar. It's laying down the knife you've held inward for far too long. It's not about forgetting. It's about remembering without reopening the wound every time. Let yourself grieve what never got resolved. Let yourself mourn what never got repaired. But then, let yourself step forward. Not as a person who moved on, but as someone who finally let go. Because forgiveness doesn't mean the story didn't matter. It means you're ready to stop letting it define your future. And that is a quiet kind of power. You don't wake up healed. You wake up tired. You wake up remembering. You wake up wondering if today will feel lighter than yesterday. And then you choose something small. You reach for a quiet cup of tea. You open a window and let morning air in. You sit in stillness, even if your mind isn't still. You touch the earth. You take one slow breath before checking your phone. You whisper a soft thank you, even when you don't feel grateful yet. That is healing. The world tells you healing must be dramatic. A transformation, a breakthrough, a moment of clarity. But most healing doesn't look like that. It looks like gentle routines, tiny rituals, ordinary kindness. Calm people aren't born calm. They're practiced. They've lived through noise and chose stillness anyway. They don't always have fewer problems. They just have better habits for meeting them without losing themselves. So if you want to heal, don't search for the big moment. Create small ones. Let them stack. Let them become your rhythm. Like lighting a candle before you write, washing your hands slowly as a reset, saying no without apology, leaving your phone in another room when you're resting, speaking kindly to yourself in the mirror, even just once, taking one deep breath before replying, letting the sun fall on your skin for 3 quiet minutes. These things don't seem powerful until one day you realize you're not drowning anymore. You're floating. You're breathing again. And you didn't force it. You built it. With quiet choices that no one clapped for. But your soul noticed. So ask yourself, what rituals bring me home to myself? What soft choices help me feel safe? What can I let go of to protect my calm? And then do that. Not perfectly, not every day, just enough, because peace doesn't shout, it whispers. And when you begin to live in a way that listens for it, you begin to live differently. Healing isn't magic, it's maintenance. It's choosing again and again to be kind to yourself in small, ordinary, holy ways. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean the past disappears. It doesn't mean the ache never happened. It means you've decided to stop reliving what already ended. It means you've chosen to loosen your grip on what your heart once clenched so tightly. It means you finally whispered, "I can carry the memory without carrying the weight." Because the truth is, you won't forget. Not completely. Not if it mattered. But you can remember differently. Softer. Without the sting. Some people fear letting go because they think it means letting go of love, letting go of meaning, letting go of a part of themselves. But real letting go isn't erasure. It's integration. It's saying, "This shaped me, but it does not hold me anymore." You can still honor what was lost. You can still thank what brought you pain. You can still look back and smile, not because it was easy, but because you made it through. Letting go is not forgetting. It's remembering without needing to return. Think of it like this. A bird perches on your hand. It sings for a season, and then one day, it flies. You don't chase it. You don't cage it. You let it go because you loved it enough to set it free. Because it was never meant to stay forever. Pain is like that. It visits. It teaches. It lingers. But then it's time. Time to unclench your fists. Time to let the memory breathe. Time to trust that peace is not forgetting. It's remembering with tenderness, not tension. So as you reach the end of this quiet journey, ask yourself, what am I still holding that no longer wants to be held? What pain have I overnamed until it became my name? What can I finally say goodbye to? Not in bitterness, but in soft release. Say it now, gently, maybe only in your heart. And then say this, I don't need to forget, but I do need to be free. This is what healing looks like. Not a perfect ending, but a soft return to yourself, to the part of you that has always been whole, to the peace that waited patiently beneath the ache. And now, you are here, still standing, still soft, still becoming. You made it, not by force, but by choosing, again and again, to let it hurt, and then let it go. Now that the storm has been spoken, now that the ache has been held, now that the weight has been witnessed, you are free to choose again, not because everything is healed, not because the past no longer stings, but because you have changed. You've stopped running, you've stopped hiding, you've looked grief in the eye and said, I won't carry you alone anymore. That is peace, not silence, not perfection, but presence. Peace is not a place you arrive at. It's a practice, a promise you make to yourself. I will not abandon my softness just to survive a hard world. You may not feel ready, but readiness doesn't always feel like courage. Sometimes it feels like calm, like breathing without needing to control everything, like waking up and no longer needing to armor your heart. That is peace, and now you can choose it. Let peace be your new home, not because pain didn't visit, but because pain didn't win. Let peace be the quiet in your bones, the soft yes to life again, the way you smile for no reason, the way you sit in silence and feel held by nothing but your own becoming. This is your gentle return to yourself, to your breath, to a heart that no longer flinches when the past knocks. You've made it. You've come all this way, and you did not harden. You softened. And somehow, that softness saved you. So close your eyes, not to escape, but to feel everything that stayed, everything that remains, and whisper, not with fear, but with deep knowing, I let it hurt. I let it speak. I let it rest. And now, I let it go. And now you begin again, not as the one who was wounded, but as the one who rose, gently, quietly, fully alive.